good afternoon to all. Respected chairperson, with your kind permission, I'd like to start my topic. The topic given to me today is fever with rash. So, as we all know that fever with rash is an age-old topic and it is one of the most common problem seen by a primary care physician. So, it may be a manifestation of just minor viral illness or it may signify a serious clinical disorder. So, often it poses a diagnostic challenge, especially when the patient is acutely ill. And the differential diagnosis of patient with fever and rash is very extensive, but by taking proper history and clinical examination, we need to narrow down the diagnosis. So, like any other problem, we have to take a proper history, from the day of onset of fever and the day of onset of rash, as we have been learning it from the days of mbbs, the mnemonic which were told to us when we were students: very sick people must take double treatment. So that will help us in diagnosing the fever with rash to some extent. So depending on the day of appearance of rash, so we can make a gross speculation that this might be the cause of rash. So as we all know that varicella, which is polymorphic rash, it can develop on first day of fever. Similarly, scarlet fever can appear in second day, and pox is seen in the third day, and similarly so on and so forth. So I don't need to go into the details, I think. So, and next is the age of the patient is very important. As we all know that the viral exanthems are very common in children and young people, whereas and some diseases like scarlet fever, rubiola, and Kawasaki disease, which are very common in children, is rarely seen in adults. So the age of the patient is very important here. Travel history, we'll have to ask about the travel history. If the person has traveled to the endemic areas, the diseases where the diseases are endemic. Like say a person travel if the person travels to Himalayan range or hilly areas, and after coming back to that place develops fever and rash after a certain incubation period, then we have to think of diseases which are common endemic in those areas, especially. And other history like history of drug exposure, chemicals, and occupational exposure is equally important. And history of contact with a person suffering from a contagious disease and pets are also equally important. And the associated systemic symptoms has to be asked whether, and symptoms per se of involvement of other systems like GI system and respiratory systems and all. So that history is very important. Now, the diagnosis begins with the characteristic of the lesion. So, as we all know that whenever we get a patient with rash, we will try to first analyze whether the person is having a macular rash, maculopapular, papular, nodular, petechial. So, we all know depending on the appearance of the rash, whether it is flat or raised. So, we divide those rashes into macules, papules, nodules, and petechiae, purpurae, ecchymotic spots and all. So similarly, so we'll have to look at the nature of the rash. And after that, we'll have to see the area of involvement, whether it is primarily involving the trunk or the extremities, where the palms and soles are being spared, and whether it is pruritic, non-pruritic, painful lesions, or any systemic involvement are there, or special dermatological signs like blanching, which indicates vasodilatation rather than bleeding into the dermis, and Ecoskis sign where there is erosion of the epidermal structures, especially seen in toxic epidermal necrolysis and staphylococcal toxic syndrome. Kobnus phenomena and Oxus phenomena are mainly seen in psoriasis. So characteristic of the lesion is very important. And since we are dealing with the adults patients here, so we will not consider the diseases which are common in children like erythema infectiosum, exanthem subitum, measles, and rubiola. But measles, however, can be seen in adult patients also. So basically, we'll focus on the rashes which are common in adults. So according to the distribution, it can be centrally distributed maculopapular rashes. According to the etiology, it can be infectious, non-infectious. So among the infectious causes, among the viral infectious causes, measles, dengue fever, primary HIV infection, other viral exanthems like ecoviruses, Coxsackie viruses, and in the background of present pandemic, COVID-19 is important cause of centrally distributed maculopapular rash, or it may be peripherally distributed. So that has to be kept in mind. Other causes, bacterial causes, important ones are which can be life-threatening if not recognized early, is acute meningococcemia and typhoid fevers, leptospirosis, Lyme's disease, and group A streptococcal infections causing erythema marginatum and relapsing fevers. Similarly, rickettsiosis is also very common in India, especially in the Himalayan range. The diseases, rickettsial disease like scrub typhus and rickettsial spotted fevers is very common in India. So, and other non-infectious causes of centrally distributed maculopapular rashes are drugs, which can lead to drug-induced hypersensitivity syndrome, which can be very severe, and it is due to delayed type hypersensitivity. And other exanthematous drug rashes can be there. Autoimmune causes are, Steele's disease and SLE. So other peripheral diseases which can cause peripheral eruptions are chikungunya, bacterial endocarditis, secondary syphilis, chronic meningococcemia, and Rocky Mountain spotted fever is not very common in India. So drugs also can cause peripheral eruptions like erythema multiforme. So similarly, these cumulative lesions are there, staphylococcal, streptococcal, and all those things. So other confluent discomitative lesions are also there, and some lesions can be vesicular and purpuric. Now coming to the case scenario, I'd like to describe some cases. So here I'm describing a case. A 32 years old healthcare worker complains of fever, sore throat, cough, coryza, conjunctival congestion. He develops a maculopapular rash on his trunk on the 4th day of illness and progresses rapidly to involve the tongue. There is no history of international or interstate travel, no history of drug exposures. So what are the possibilities we'll consider here? Since we see that patient is a healthcare worker and has conjunctival congestion, coryza, and develops the maculopapular rash on the 4th day of the fever, and there is sparing of palms and soles. So the first consideration here would be measles. As we all know that it's a paramyxoviral disease, the rash is seen on the 4th day, and the pathognomonic feature is the Koplik spots. And similarly, many cases of atypical rash, maculopapular rash or macular rash has been reported with COVID-19. So this is a case report of atypical presentation of skin lesion reported by the Government Medical College in Kerala. So where they have reported severe, majority of the lesions were maculopapular, urticarial, vesicular involving the trunks. So these are the pictures where they show discretely confluent lesions, and the lesions were distributed in the edematous and papular lesions were distributed in the palms and soles also. So this is a picture of a patient who was kept on home isolation in Siliguri, developed a maculopapular rash on 3rd day of the fever, COVID-19. So similarly, we have to think of some, diseases. Say here's a case scenario when a patient comes with headache, retroorbital pain, BP is on the lower side, and has facial flushing, blanchable rash on his trunks, and develops petechial and purpuric trunk, purpuric spots on his trunk and limbs. So here we will see there is flushing of the skin. So here we can consider dengue fever. So in rashes present in 50% of the cases, usually develops the flushing and blanching is there on 1st or 2nd day, and the secondary rash usually develops on the 6th day, and they can be petechial and purpuric rashes. Similarly, if here I present a case, 35 years male, a resident of Kursiang, high-grade fever with chills, he has headache, myalgia, and he has maculopapular rash starting from extremities and involving the trunk. So there is, and later turns out to be petechial and hemorrhagic spots. He has lymphocyte predominant, there is lymphocytosis, platelet count is on the lower side, and transaminitis. So we will examine the patient properly and find for some pathognomic features, which is not always present. But if you find this black necrotic spot, which is known as eschar, then you will have to think of scrub typhus. So it's a rickettsial disease caused by Orienza susugamaceae and transmitted by the larval mites. So patient will have high-grade fever, which will mimic viral illness in the beginning, and later the patient will have severe headache, myalgia, and even the patient can develop encephalitis syndromes. And these rashes are usually typically present around the ankle, legs, and wrist, and later it can involve the trunk. So this is the eschar, which is present in the scrub typhus. It is not always evident. It is only present in 20 to 87% of the cases, and you have to do a careful examination, otherwise you will tend to miss. So sometimes you can see a eschar here behind the ears. So there is a tendency to miss the eschar. So you have to examine the patient very properly. So rickettsial spotted fevers has also been reported from various areas like Lucknow and Madhya Pradesh and all. So that it also presents like a scrub typhus. And primary HIV infection is other entity which we should consider where a patient presents with maculopapular rashes. And similarly, chikungunya is a viral disease where there can be high fever, saddleback fever, arthalgias, and petechial and purpuric spots can be there. And acute meningococcemia can cause high fever with rash. It's a life-threatening condition, so you have to be aware of this disease. And this can cause a large hemorrhagic spots leading to purpura fulminans. So this can be life-threatening to the patient, and mortality rate is very high, around 30%. Similarly, other bacterial disease can be considered like leptospirosis, Lyme's, typhoid fever, and acute rheumatic fever, where a patient presents with erythema marginatum. So similarly, here I present a case where a patient is 35-year-old male with high fever, arthalgia, myalgias, sore throat for a period of 2 weeks. Patient complains of non-pruritic pink colored maculopapular rash, which appears during the periods of fever, and there is mild hepatosplenomegaly. Patient has neutrophilic leukocytosis, high ESR and CRP. So what will be the consideration here? So you will have to rule out all the infectious, inflammatory and malignant condition. Then there can be a diagnosis of exclusion. If you don't find any cause, so you can think of adult onset Still's disease, which is a rare autoinflammatory disease seen in young. It's a diagnosis of exclusion, and Yamaguchi's criteria can be used for the diagnosis of adult onset Still days. There is high fever for at least 1 week, arthalgias and arthritis for 2 weeks, non-pruritic salmon-colored evanescent rash, which appears during febrile episodes, and leukocytosis is mainly neutrophilic predominant leukocytosis there. Minor criteria is sore throat, lymphadenopathy, hepatosplenomegaly, and abnormal liver enzymes, and negative test for ANA and RF. So at least 5 features are required, two major criteria and 3 minor criteria to make the diagnosis of Still's disease. And other inflammatory markers like high serum, high ferritin will be there, high ESR and CRP is there. So these are the rashes of salmon-colored evanescent rashes of adult onset Still disease in one of my patients. So other consideration is, Sweet syndrome. It's a hypersensitivity reaction in response to systemic infection or any inflammatory disorders and malignancies, mainly the hematological malignancies, and drugs, especially colony stimulating factors and other drugs can also cause Sweet syndrome. So here fever precedes by several days to weeks, and bright and red blue colored papules and nodules develop, which can coalesce to form large lesions. It's a neutrophil mediated lesions, and you can see pictures of nodular lesions of Sweet syndrome, which is present on the face and the extremities and can involve the trunk. So we also have to consider non-infectious causes as which can present with high fever and rash. So among the non-infectious causes, is drug eruption is the most important one. It can be simple drug eruption where the patient presents with morbilliform rash. So that will not require many, attention. Just stopping the drug will help. But there can be complex drug eruptions, which is because of the hypersensitivity reaction, and it can be life-threatening to the patient. So those are erythema multiforme, Stevens-Johnson syndrome, 10, hypersensitivity vasculitis, DRESS and DISH, and erythroderma. So these are morbilliform rash occurring as a response to a drug. So this is erythema multiforme, which are mainly present in the extremities in a symmetrical fashion, usually involving the elbows, knees, and lower extremities. So this is drug reaction with eosinophilia and systemic symptoms. It is a severe type of drug reaction. Basically, it is a type 4 hypersensitivity reaction occurring because of the activation of T lymphocytes. And it can occur as a response to any antibiotics, allopuranols, and anticonvulsants like carbamazepine and lamotrigine. So these are the pictures of drug rash. This is picture of Stevens-Johnson syndrome and toxic epidermal necrolysis, where more than 10% of the epidermis is involved. So similarly, drug and fever, there can be maculopapular rashes because of the drug reactions, and there can be severe exfoliation leading to exfoliative erythroderma. So the take-home message is, adult with fever and rash has a wide differential diagnosis. The possibilities must be narrowed down quickly by taking focused history and looking for the key clinical features of the rash. Quick and rational approach is needed, as some might be life-threatening condition and they may need isolation to decrease its potential transmission to others. So that's all for now. Thank you.